Hi everybody, welcome to Tobin Real Estate Talk. I'm Louie Granteed, Senior Vice President of Residential and Commercial Real Estate for Tobin Real Estate, located in Hollywood, Florida. And today we're super happy to have Tom Walkstetler, who is an appraiser in the Tri-County area. Thanks for joining us today.
Sure.
There's a lot going on in the market today, both in residential and commercial. Always people have a lot of questions, and the more the market is up and down, seems like the more questions people have because they're more concerned about different aspects of buying, selling. You know, how do you see the market today in regards to residential and commercial versus the last, 2 to 3 years?
Well, it's the volume of sales has slowed down a little bit, but I think the prices are in most cases are holding where they were. They're not climbing 10% a year like they were, but they're not falling either. But because we had such a short supply, the slowdown in rate because of the interest rate has slowed some people, knocked some people out of the market. But the ones that are still out there looking are still paying pretty much the same prices they were paying a year ago. So that's good.
Yeah. How do you provide comps for a pending sale if there's no recent sales in a neighborhood within a 6 to 8 month period? I get this question all the time from people, and
Right.
we've done multiple appraisals together. Some before we put a property to market, because a seller wants to have a general idea,
Right.
even though that appraisal at the end of the day, if someone is financing or they want to get somebody else, may be insignificant, but it does give a good idea of where the value is.
Right.
But the question I get all the time is, well, there's a house sold last year down the street, and trying to explain to people that a house that sold a year ago isn't going to work. So,
Right.
So how do you put all that together?
Typically, you try to find houses that are the most similar with regard to size, condition, features of the house. Ideally, the banks would like you to have them 3 months, within 3 months of the date of inspection. Sometimes that's impossible. So you gotta start moving those parameters out. The lending guidelines that they like to talk about are just that. They're a guideline. They're not etched in stone. So if there's no sales there, you can't make them up. They get really mad about that. You do have to start moving those parameters out, move a little farther away, find similar houses that are maybe a mile and a half out that are more current and reflect what the current market is.
What are some do's and don'ts for brokers and realtors once you reach out to set the appointment for the appraisal?
Right. You want to greet the appraiser as though the appraiser's your friend. We're just there to do our job. You want to provide the information that you can about the area. And I always point out to realtors, they may spend 6 months, a year, or 5 years in one neighborhood where they know everything that happens. The appraiser's normally there for maybe 30, 40 minutes. So I don't know every quirk of every neighborhood. So if you point those kind of things out, the thing you don't want to do, if you're going to bring comps, make sure that they're good comps that support the size, quality, condition of the house that you're appraising, not just here's 100 sales I found in the MLS that are all houses. That doesn't help me. It's certainly not going to speed me up to have to analyze 100 sales that are no good. So pass on the good information. And the one thing you never want to do is threaten the appraiser with, you'll never work in this town again if you don't get the value. Because our job is not to represent the realtor, it's to represent, the objective opinion is what we're supposed to provide.
If a seller decided to do an appraisal before they put the house on the market, so if they have a recent appraisal
Right.
and they want to provide that, is that something acceptable that you'll review?
Absolutely. We'll look at it. Doesn't mean I'm just going to, copy everything in it. I may or may not agree with it, but I'll certainly consider it. And like I said, the locational factors that aren't apparent when you drive through a neighborhood, those are the important things to pass on.
This is another thing that comes up all the time is when the appraiser gets chosen by the lender, is there a rule that they're supposed to contact the seller's realtor, or will they go through the buyer's realtor? Normally, it's not really to the buyer because the buyer's not the one
In the house.
that's representing the seller in the transaction. So
Right.
normally, it's the seller's realtor who's calling their client to let them know that the appraisal appointment is scheduled, and they'll let the buyer's realtor know.
Right.
But how do you see it?
Well, typically when the bank sends the order, the lender, whoever it is, sends the order, they'll put the seller's phone number in there, or the realtor, whoever's in charge. Sometimes the people are out of the area. They may have a friend that's going to show us. Whoever's going to let me in the house, that's who we try to call. There's no requirement as far as who can show us the house. So whoever it is, we'll do our best. And sometimes we'll call one realtor who the lender told us to call, and they'll say, okay, call the other realtor. They have access to the house. So we just want to get in, do our job, get moving.
Understood. What is the average turnaround time once you get assigned an appraisal by a lender?
Typically, they want them back within about a week. So they don't care. They're for a while there was appraisers that would try to get a one-day turnaround. They would personally, I'd rather have 3 or 4 days to make sure I do a good job rather than do a really fast job that I have to go back and make a lot of revisions. So within a normal lending process, they normally order the appraisal when things look like they're good with the loan. They order it and they get it back. We're not the last one holding them up.
Yeah. It's a critical part of the transaction. So rushing,
Sure. Rushing's not the way to do it.
Yeah,
sure.
it doesn't help. It's more important to have the quality of it and the accuracy of it for everybody. I know you already kind of touched on this. What critical improvements on a property are you looking for when you're appraising it that helps make the most impact in the value? Like the roof. Do you check the electric? Those kind of things.
Yeah, any kind of major system upgrade, if you would tell the appraiser, and also the best way to get appraisers' attention is to attach the number of how much that cost. I've had someone call me and tell me, oh, I forgot to tell you, we replaced the toilet flaps. Like, that wasn't even worth calling me, but okay. Bathrooms and kitchens, buyers like that, if you've done it, and also attach what you spent on it. I just put in a $100,000 kitchen, kind of makes the appraiser's ears perk up, and we'll try to find similar, what some people consider an upgrade, other people consider, well, you should have just torn this out and put in a new one. But, everybody's got a budget, so sometimes an upgrade's 20 grand, sometimes it's 100. It's nice to mention in the report so the buyer and the bank realizes what they're getting.
So today we see a lot of people doing metal roofs.
Right.
So now you have metal, tile, shingle, flat. Mm-hmm. How do those tie in? From
the buyer standpoint, I think, and from the bank standpoint, the metal roofs are more durable. They come with some of them a 40, 50-year warranty. So that's good. Shingle's kind of the lower end of the thing, but even the shingles have been improved where they last 20 years or so.
Yeah.
Flat roofs, still nobody's favorite. And then tile roofs also, looking at probably 30 years out of a tile roof. So just sort of depends on the look they want and the durability of the roof. So, but once it's spent, if you have a young couple that just bought a house, they stretch to get in, and then the roof goes bad, and nobody mentioned the roof's going bad. That's a big expense. So,
do you take into account the life expectancy of a roof?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always, one of the appraisers that work with me, I always drive them through a neighborhood where it's about 30 years old, and there's just roofing trucks in everybody's front yard. They all go bad at the same time. Yeah. Within about a year, everybody in the place gets a new roof. So the ones with the new roof will sell for more than the ones with the old roof on it. They're gonna have to put it on soon.
How are appraisers chosen by lenders? Some talk about there's a rotation list. The reason that comes up sometimes is because sometimes lenders will choose an appraiser from outside the area that comes to a market, and it seems like for those that come outside of the Tri-County area, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, they don't really understand how hot the market is here,
right? And
how the prices have gone through the roof compared to elsewhere in the United States, other than
right.
Other certain areas.
Typically, to get on the list with the lenders, it's sort of a timing thing. If they have a crew that they're happy with and they rotate the jobs and they're able to get their volume of work done, they don't even consider anybody new. But occasionally they get backed up and then new appraisers come in. Lenders, direct lenders tend to be a little different than like mortgage companies who are going to shop it around, but you still have to meet criteria. So they look at your qualifications, what you know about the area. The lenders want you to have experience, appraisal experience, know the area, and they look at sample work for you to get in. So if you do, good samples, you send them over, they look them over and say, okay, we'll give you a shot.
I would think that lenders would be smart enough that they would want actual people from the marketplace.
Right.
Because it doesn't help them with the loans.
Right.
If someone comes from out of the area and they're not used to the pricing, and the appraisals are coming in underneath the actual sale price or greater than the sale price.
Right.
Then you're going to end up with either a lot of canceled.
Right.
You can end up with a lot of canceled contracts.
Right.
If that's the case too many times, and sellers are going to have to, and buyers are going to have to work out some type of concession.
Right.
But when there's a appraisal contingency, it doesn't really have that in there. It just basically says, you can reduce the price and accept the appraisal, or you can cancel the contract from the buyer side.
Right.
Well, we're grateful to have Tom Walkstetler, honestappraiser.com, here with us today, answered a variety of questions. And Tom, we appreciate it. It was a lot of very good information that I think people can use. If you have any other questions, you can reach Tom directly, or you can go on his website at honestappraiser.com. If you or anyone you know is interested in buying or selling any residential or commercial property, interested in construction or property management, please contact me, Louie Granteed, Tobin Real Estate, at 954-868-4163. And remember, tested, trusted Tobin.